Welcome back to Dow of Twang. I'm Dave. I'm glancing over here because I'll tell you real quick. I had a pretty major equipment injury a couple of days ago. The MacBook Pro that I use to basically do everything, the screen cracked. So the computer still works, but until I get that dealt with, I got another monitor sitting here, and it's all going to work out. But like if I look different, like I'm glancing over at something or whatever, I had to put another, the camera in a different place, and now I've got like. I wish I could turn all this around. You could see that there's a situation going on here right now. But the important thing is that we're up and running, and this isn't going to slow us down, man. We're just going to keep on keeping on. And it's also exactly -3 degrees where I am right now. Okay, I know a lot of you probably don't know a lot about me and my wife's setup and our daily life, other than the guitar stuff. But some of you do, because I know some of you pretty well now. But we live out in the woods, in a pretty rural area, and we have a good internet connection, thank goodness. But we rely on like wood heat and space heaters and things, and we really we burn a lot of wood and stuff, and I cut a lot of wood and stuff out here, and we're prepared, so we're okay. But when it gets this cold, like I just had to stop and tune my guitar for like the fourth time in an hour or so. It's not that cozy in here, especially in the back room where I am. You can see it's starting to snow back there right now. So, but again, none of this is going to affect what we're doing. We're going to have some fun. We've got a groove here. It's one chord. It's E7. Okay, just like the title. And this, I like grooving on one chord sometimes like this. Let me get this over here where I can turn this loop on. Let's listen to it for a second. Now, here's a moderate tempo, and here's the idea: is a lot of times I'll say, hey, just get loose and play some scales or whatever, or get in there and play the blues scale. That'd still be a good idea. We're not going to spend a lot of time doing that today because we've got a pretty specific thing that I did in that intro, and I repeated it a lot, right? So it wasn't a great solo at the beginning this time, but it demonstrated this kind of routine. Okay, now let's stop this for just a second. So that groove, I'll put a loop of it down here below for you. That backing track, it's just... and I put a little bass on there, just to make it groove a little bit more. And so, you could absolutely change that, to the, after a while, if you just can't help it, you want to change it to the A, to the, like a 4-chord change or something, then great. And you could even apply some of the same things that we're about to do, working with the E to that, right? But here's the main thing that's going on. I get a lot of inquiry about, switching from major to minor pentatonic, and how should we be doing that, and kind of what's the playbook on that. And there's a lot of there's a variety of ways to address that, but everyone's noticing that it shows up constantly in rock and blues, and especially the blues stuff, right? So here's one thing that we can do, and this is kind of an ear training thing, and setting you up to do a lot of improvising with licks of your own and so forth. So this is kind of a routine that I don't know if it really, is too fancy of a lick, But here's what I'm doing. I'm playing an arpeggio of the E7. So I'm going root, major third, fifth, flat 7, and then the root in this case. But the simple arpeggio would be, the E, G sharp, B, D. Okay, root, third, fifth, flat 7. But just to give it some phrasing, most of the time in that intro I went, this kind of has a little bit of a shape to it, And then I'm going down the minor pentatonic sequence from there. Okay, but not starting on the root again. I started on the flat 7th. So and here's what that sounds like. Okay, if I walk it back down from flat 7, 5, 4, minor third, root. If you don't know all of those, in terms of scale tones and so forth, that's okay. But get used to that. Don't say, don't think you have to drop what you're doing and what you're playing and stuff to go and kind of, just exclusively, start studying those things. But just pick up a little bit of it at a time, right? And hopefully this is helpful in that way. So a lot of the notes are shared in those two groupings, right? One of them has a major third. The arpeggio has a major third, but it goes right to the 5th, right? The minor pentatonic, if we start it from here, has a minor third, but then it goes 4th, 5th, flat 7, okay? And of course, we've got a flat 7 in both of them. So, you sort all that out. The only thing that's different is the third, right? And it's a remarkable thing how our ear likes that major and minor third with this sort of thing. And if you put them right next to one another, a half step away, you kind of lose the power of it, right? It's not like just combining scales where you can just kind of stick the notes all in a line and use them that way, right? It's more of like the constellation of the sound of your ear following that arpeggio, or some major pentatonic type of sound. In this case, we're not really playing a full-on major pentatonic sequence. We're just using the chord tones specifically. And then when you go back down to that minor third, it just works. And let me do some slow examples. This is very much based on what I did in the intro. Get this thing going. And, just dealing with the one chord, you can kind of just forget about the chord changing and all that right now. Just really let yourself soak into this. Okay, that's that first part. D. That's E minor pentatonic. Right. Okay, that time I put the little blues note in there. You go. Okay, now that last little bit there, so you could see how I kind of just did it in a couple different positions, but I mainly was alternating between different shapes, different columns of the neck. If you're not familiar with all of those or can't rifle through them all right now. Don't worry, right? But, start thinking of it that way. And if you are very familiar with that, then great. Just keep, working on sort of how you transition from one to another. And that's where it really gets fun, right? Is how you're moving around. If I go, right, I'm kind of just going through, I'm not going to break all that down right now, but I'm just going through these different shapes well, that's what they call them, the five shapes of pentatonic, but using, position changes instead of just going all the way up and down in each column, right? And so melodically, this is a very simple concept, game plan that we have here, right? Some, chord tone stuff followed by answered in a way with some pentatonic. I even jumped down and did the arpeggio down here. And here's what I think what you can really do to kind of, so those are the ideas, right? Those are the sounds that you're hearing in that intro and the things I just played. What you can do for a program to really start using this and practicing it is look for that typical sequence in different places. Okay, so that's the arpeggiated version of the E7. Root, major third, the G sharp, the fifth B, the flat 7 D, and then the root. Then if I go down from the flat 7, see, that's a minor third on the way down because I'm switching over to minor pentatonic, right? And I'm doing a lot of things with that blues scale in there too. Right, that's okay, you might not think of it down there, right, as often. That's kind of a cool little place to put it right there. Probably used to doing it here a lot more. So that's kind of just a little bonus thing to throw in there. That's fun. You can do it in different places. That's a little different. That's where I've kind of went up and did it in the reverse order. I was doing like a blues scale or minor pentatonic run, and then I went and put that major third in there, right? So I went. Right. So they don't have to be, in any particular order, but starting off with this, if you're not used to it, this is a good little system. And even if you're starting on the same note, the unison note, or the same octave of the note E, right? In this case, even in the same location, you want to practice your reaching for those things with different positions and finger configurations. So we were going, but I could also go. See that? That's a nice way to get around. Now I'm kind of just, connecting that. Once you get that sound going, you're not just, this isn't a visual thing. Part of it is, But once you get that sound, that up with the arpeggio, down with the minor pentatonic or blues scale, then you're gonna seek it out. Your ear's going to find it, and then you let your ear train your hand, not the other way around, right? It's not like I'm gonna memorize what all this looks like, and then somehow that's gonna teach my ear to hear it. Maybe to some extent, but think about that the other way around. That's right. What if you, I guess the simple sort of, way to make that point is, what if you couldn't see it? It would all it would all still exist, right? Many great players have demonstrated that for us with their not having the use of sight and being some of the best musicians that have ever played any instrument, right? So we do have the advantage of both things. Most of us, those of us that do have our sight, there could be someone listening right now that doesn't. And, uh, uh, I've always been sort of, fascinated by that example, right? Because it just really lets you get completely in touch with the hearing part, right? So here's three versions of that. Start with my middle finger. Start with my pinky. Um, I don't do that one as much, do I, right? I got lucky. If I'd hit the wrong note, we would have let it be an example of just, how to fix it and keep on going, right? The sound is how we would know. It's not because I'm judging it by what it looks like, right? Your ear is what tells you that you hit the wrong note. Or it could go. That's kind of a cool one because then you go. Right? They all connect to things that you're already familiar with, right? So that's really important. If you go. All right. So listen to that sequence. See how many different places and different octaves you can do that. And I promise you, stuff will start just sort of unfolding from there, right? But then you go and you loosen up a little bit. You throw some more of your other licks and things that you're used to. But that training, your hand will start doing those things automatically, but you have to spend a little time on it, right? You have to spend a fair amount of time on it actually to be fair about it about this business, right? It's not a little bit of time. You have to spend significant time doing these sorts of things for that muscle memory to really happen. We hear people talking about muscle memory and stuff all the time online. It's not something that happens by you know uh, uh, playing that lick 1, 2, and 3 10 times, and then that won't do it. We've all experienced that. You come back 3 days later, you're starting over, basically, right? So stuff like this, keep it simple. Don't try to do real elaborate sequences. Um, at different stages. Do something that that you can hear, and you're going to be able to come back and do it again, and then it'll start. You can build from that. All right. Let me know how this goes. Appreciate all of you. Talk to you next week.